You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible.
And you heard me make this point. And again, you heard when RC was on. Donald Trump has been trying to cut the budget of this organization. When you talk about how we grow black business, see that's what's amazing. See, on one hand, you can't be out there touting and talking about all of these numbers and talking about how black unemployment has gone down if you're not also touting black folks owning businesses. RC also talked about, the billions Trump has poured into opportunity zones. We also know what we saw in Baltimore, where Under Armour was getting some of those resources. We know doggone well they're not a struggling business, and so they weren't even qualified. They weren't even located in that, but Governor Larry Hogan's office made sure they got it. When you talk about how we've been able to grow as a black community in terms of our businesses, again, let me say it again. On the federal level, it is because we've been able to utilize more fairness on the federal level when it comes to accessing these contracts, when it comes to being able to grow our businesses. There are individuals in this room who've been able to grow their businesses doing 20 and 30, 50, $100 million when you talk about the size of those businesses. That means employing African Americans as well. And so we cannot act as if this is not a big deal. It is a big deal. It is extremely important because we have to make sure that corporate America is doing right by us when it comes to our dollars. There are folks out there who want us to spend our dollars with them, but do they want to reciprocate to ensure that black businesses are being able to get those contracts? That's why we must continue to do what we do. That's why we must continue to press this issue and not allow Donald Trump and his administration to slash the budget. In fact, we should be increasing the budget here. But let me also say this when we talk about where we are. I keep telling you about 2043 and where we're going in this country when it comes to this nation becoming a nation majority of people of color. What we do not want to see is a nation like South Africa where white folks are 9% of the population yet can own 72% of the land, that control the mines, that control the resources, that control the dollars. That is the issue. And the thing that's also important for us as African Americans that we have to confront and deal with. And look, I totally understand, and let me say it again, I totally understand when we as African Americans put our attention on police brutality, put our attention on civil rights, put our attention on social justice. But what cannot happen is when we are so focused on police brutality and social justice that we leave out the economic piece. We must have our economic leaders leading us when it comes to the economy. I've said this to Ron Busby, the U.S. Black Chamber, Inc. I said it to other business leaders, other chambers of commerce across this country, that we cannot be in a situation where we're having an economic conversation and we have civil rights leaders leading the economic conversation. No, the people who should be leading the economic conversation in Black America are black people who own businesses, black people who actually have P&L's responsibility. That's who must be doing that. We've got to have not just even more black-owned businesses, we've got to have black-owned businesses with scale. You've heard me talk about this here. 10 years ago, actually 8 years ago, we had 1.9 million black-owned businesses in the United States. 1.8 million of those black-owned businesses only had one employee. Here we stand today, and we have 2.6 million black-owned businesses, yet 2.5 million of them have just one employee. That means that we have increased black-owned businesses by 700,000. 700,000, but here's the deal. When we had 1.9 million black-owned businesses, they were doing an average annual revenue of about $110,000. Those black-owned businesses today are doing an average revenue of $54,000. So they're really only surviving by themselves. So here we have 700,000 more black-owned businesses, yet we're doing half of the revenue. What has Donald Trump also done to hurt black-owned businesses? What they did is they went back to actually creating the larger contracts, the large blocks of contracts, meaning if you were a smaller black-owned business, you couldn't compete for those contracts. Under the Obama administration, they were able to break those up. That was something that Maynard Jackson understood. Maynard Jackson did the exact same thing, breaking up the size of those contracts because he understood that black businesses were not able to compete for those contracts. We will not be able to move forward in the future of this country if we are continually locked out of the economic success of this country. That's why we've got to ensure to put pressure on our political leaders, to support members of the Congressional Black Caucus who stand with the National Minority Supplier Development Council, to make sure that we are at the table and we're getting our fair share. It's one thing to yell, we need access. It's another thing to actually be able to get it. And so what I implore all of us to do is that when we're having these conversations, we are talking about ensuring that Black-owned businesses are being able to grow and thrive. Again, that's what Maynard Jackson did. That's what Coleman Young did in Detroit. That's what Marion did in Washington, D.C. Yes, times were different. Yes, you had the initial area of affirmative action, but the only way we're going to be able to grow and prosper is if we ensure that we are growing our businesses. And let me say the last thing, which is critically important, and that is Black-owned businesses have also got to understand mergers and acquisitions. We cannot be living in our silos, so focused on just having our own individual companies that we don't understand how we must also partner together and work together and collaborate to be able to grow and thrive. I've said this in media. There are too many Black-owned businesses in media that are operating in their own sort of scale out there, who are not out there working with others. We can't live in silos. We must be able to collaborate to grow and build. Folks, it is one thing to say we need more Black-owned businesses. What we really need is Black-owned businesses with scale. What is the point of continuing to having Black-owned businesses doing $54,000 and $55,000 and $60,000 a year when they can't hire anybody? No, what we need are Black-owned businesses that are doing $5 million and $7 million and $10 million and $50 million and $100 million and $250 million and $500,000 and $1 billion. That's what we actually need. Some people, and I'm just going to end this way because I need you to understand this here. There were people who told me, why, man, when TV One canceled my show, man, you should go to MSNBC. You should go to CNN. Let me help y'all out. I told y'all that there are 2.6 million Black-owned businesses in America, and 2.5 million of them only have one employee. I have 12 employees. Let me repeat that. 12 employees. I told you that the average Black-owned business right now does $54,000 in revenue. Last year, we did $700,000 in revenue. Now, do we need more? Of course we do. But see, if you don't start somewhere and actually build it and grow it, it will not be able to grow and thrive. I am employing Black people with this show. In fact, there are more, I guarantee you, there are more Black people who work on my show than work on any show on broadcast or cable. I would be shocked if you, in terms of the number of people, in terms of the percentage. I guarantee you that. What does that mean? Because when you create small businesses, 65% of America's small businesses are small business. They actually hire people in their communities where they actually are. We have been frozen out of the process for far too long. That cannot continue in the future. We must be about the business of business, which means we must demand our fair share. I'm not interested in crumbs. I'm interested in slices or the whole damn pie.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, you heard me talk a lot about marijuanastock.org. Why? Because we want to keep you informed of investment opportunities that make sense. We've all watched the growth of the cannabis industry. It is now a $340 billion a year market, and it is still growing. It's also being legalized state by state in this country, and things are changing dramatically. Now, of course, marijuana has a good cousin called hemp with a much higher concentration of CBD, which means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Until recently, hemp farming was illegal in the United States, practically illegal in the U.S., but the 2018 Farm Bill changed all of that. Those who want to grow need land. This is real simple. It's incredible investment opportunities for companies like 420 Real Estate. Their business model is simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. That's right, they are hemp CBD landlords. Now, of course, at 420 Real Estate, they've done something special for Roland Martin Unfiltered family. The original investment was $500, but you can invest as little as $200 in this crowdfunding campaign. You can invest from $200 up to $10,000. $100,000. All you got to do is go to marijuanastock.org for more information. Go to marijuanastock.org to get in the game and get in the game now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.